Today on CTV News at 5, gun range reward, how members of the Lethbridge shooting range are trying to keep its gates open. Plus, Lethbridge City Council turfs the term alderman. And I'm coming home. How a Lethbridge teen's legacy is living on through song.
CTV News with Jackie Scantlebury.
Good afternoon. Members of the Lethbridge Fish and Game Association are offering a reward. It's for information about anyone shooting carelessly towards the city of Lethbridge. The association and city administration will be meeting over the next 2 weeks to try and come up with ways of making the gun range safer. But club members say it's people who aren't using the range that pose the real threat to residents of North Lethbridge, and they contend even relocating the facility won't eliminate that danger. Terry Boat reports.
Members of the Lethbridge Fish and Game Association packed City Hall, some of them carrying signs riddled with bullet holes and other damage from illegal and destructive shooting. The association's gun range will remain closed for at least 2 more weeks, while the administration and association members meet to discuss ways to make the range safer. Some councillors say the most realistic long-term solution now appears to be relocating the range away from the city.
The Fish and Game Association, they want to move as well. They don't want to be going through this scenario again next year or in 2 years' time or in 5 years' time, right? There's always going to be an issue if it's located in an urban center.
The decision to reevaluate the facility comes on the heels of an updated police report, which examined 25 stray bullet strikes over the past 7 years, including 5 in the last 6 months. Even though 9 of those bullets were found in West and South Lethbridge, police concluded it's beyond probability that some of those bullets didn't come from the range.
Intuitively, it doesn't make a lot of sense that you have a rifle range that points towards the city, and I think we're probably seeing some of the results of that.
The Fish and Game Association has pointed out a number of flaws in the police report and some of their investigations. They contend there's no way bullets or ricochets pose a risk to homes in North Lethbridge, adding the real danger is from people shooting in rural areas outside city limits.
If people go out on their own and they're not really having a full appreciation of that firearm and how far that projectile can travel, certainly that's a recipe for some problems.
We know they're not coming from the range. We want to let people know that if they're firing guns out in the outlying areas of Lethbridge, they're creating a safety hazard.
The association says it wants to be part of the solution, and it's offering a $1,000 reward for information about anyone who's caught recklessly shooting a firearm in the direction of the city. Terry Boat, CTV News, Lethbridge.
The city will meet with Fish and Game representatives over the next 2 weeks and report back to City Council. The range remains closed. Some sportsmen and competitive shooters are now driving as far away as Calgary to practice. And City Hall has put an end to a debate that's been going on for years in Lethbridge. Council has voted unanimously to change the term alderman to councillor. The transition won't officially take place until after next year's civic elections. In the early 1950s, the city changed the term from councillor to alderman. Supporters say bringing the name back reflects the diverse and dynamic community of Lethbridge.
Well, the vote was exciting to me because it was unanimous. When I first got elected to council last term, this was an issue I brought up, and really council at that point didn't have an appetite for it. So it was very exciting to me that the issue was still alive, and we had a group that was willing to look at it with fresh eyes and make some changes, some long-needed changes.
So with the change, that leaves Airdrie as the only Alberta city continuing to use the name alderman. Lethbridge City Council has kicked a recycling pickup plan to the curb. It decided Monday not to spend $120,000 hiring a consultant to draft a curbside recycling program. Aldermen did choose to close most of the drop-off bins that sit in shopping centre parking lots and replace them then with larger recycling facilities that accept more items. And 2 of the facilities could be ready as early as this fall. One will be on city land in West Lethbridge and another at the former landfill site in North Lethbridge. Okay, Dory, you've mentioned this a couple of times, though. Today will be the last day of winter for a little while, at least.
Yeah, exactly, Jackie. We are looking at temperatures really rebounding as we get closer towards the weekend. We'll have temperatures in the mid-teens, positive numbers as we head into the weekend. Lots of sunshine in the forecast. I'll have all the warm, toasty details coming up in just a couple of minutes.
We like the sounds of that. Thanks, Dory. RCMP have arrested a peeping Tom in Nobleford, but they want to hear if anyone else in that community has had a similar experience over the last couple of weeks. Picture Butte Mounties got a complaint Saturday night that a suspicious man was peering into living room and bedroom windows in Nobleford. A 34-year-old Nobleford man was arrested. He was actually charged last year with similar offenses. RCMP are asking anyone who may have experienced a similar incident over the last 2 weeks to contact them. The man's name has not been released. And the case of a Redcliffe teacher facing sexual assault allegations involving a 14-year-old girl was before the courts today, but the teacher himself wasn't. 32-year-old Bradley Mastel was arrested in February after a police officer patrolling a Medicine Hat Park came across Mastel under what he called suspicious circumstances in a vehicle with the teen. Mastel faces 5 sex assault-related charges. He was a teacher at Parkside Junior High in Redcliffe, but his bail conditions now prohibit him from being within a 3-block radius of the school. Mastel's case has been set over until April 3rd to allow his lawyers more time to go over the disclosure evidence. A psychiatric nurse says she warned the family of a young man not to take him out of the hospital just hours before he jumped off the high-level bridge. Susan Gloucester testified during day 2 of the fatality inquiry into the death of 17-year-old Michael Ferguson. In July 2010, Ferguson was involuntarily admitted to the Chinook Regional Hospital. The next day, his doctor signed a temporary leave pass to allow Ferguson to go outside the hospital for a cigarette with his family. But when he got outside, he fled, hailing a cab to the bridge and then jumping to his death. The fatality inquiry will not establish legal responsibility. Instead, the judge will prepare a report, which may include recommendations on how to prevent similar deaths in the future. Gloucester was Ferguson's nurse the day that he killed himself. She testified. She was puzzled as to why his family would want to take him off the unit because he had threatened to kill himself earlier in the day. Gloucester is recommending stricter policies and guidelines when it comes to temporary leave passes. The fatality inquiry wraps up tomorrow. Well, firefighters responded to false alarms in the city, says that it's costing the city. Last year, fire officials responded to nearly 600 false alarms. Based on City Council's recommendations, there will soon be fines for responding to these types of calls. That includes calls from homes, schools, and businesses. The Lethbridge Fire Department held a public awareness seminar, letting people know how they can prevent costly fines.
Our introduction was the bylaw was to work with owners and occupants to talk to them about, that you eventually see us billing for alarms and notifying them that this is coming. We have the opportunity within the bylaw, and it's the focus on reducing and making sure when there is an alarm, we've rolled out forward now to start billing for those alarms.
For every false alarm that comes out, regardless of who does it, I will get a bill for $675. The problem is that I have 5 different separate buildings, so if someone sets off a false alarm in this building, I don't feel it's fair that others that live elsewhere on campus should be charged for that. So it also ultimately will be sending the cost off to the students directly.
The first false alarm call is free, and the second will cost $75. The third will set you back $350. Every false alarm after that will be $675. A Lethbridge teen's legacy is living on through song. Students at Emmanuel Christian High School are singing a rendition of the song Coming Home. It was written about former student Caitlin Boyda. The teen passed away last May from an incurable brain tumor. When she was first diagnosed, the Children's Wish Foundation asked what they could do for her. Instead of choosing something for herself, Caitlin asked for money to build wells in Africa. Caitlin's generosity brought fresh water to more than 40,000 people. Members of the Ontario band Hello Bella were inspired to write a song about the teen.
Well, across Canada, into Africa, just so many people know about it and so many people are touched by it. Caitlin made such a big difference, and it's making a huge difference for so many people.
The teen's generosity has inspired many others to donate. Caitlin's Wish has raised more than $300,000 to build water wells in Africa. The song Coming Home by Stephanie Poort of Hello Bella is available on iTunes, and all of the proceeds will support Caitlin's Wish. The royal visit to Alberta last year seems to have inspired the next generation of baby names. The province's birth records show that William and Kate rose in popularity last year. But there were also 8 boys named Prince and 6 girls named Princess. But the royal names didn't make it into the top 5. For girls, Olivia is now the most popular baby name in Alberta, followed by Sophia, Emma, Emily, and Ava. For boys, Liam is number 1 for the 2nd year in a row, followed by Ethan, Mason, Lucas, and Jacob. And some people, well, they just can't follow the pack. Last year, some Alberta families named their kids Jacob, Dreams, Styles, Symphony, and even Tuba. Leading a horse into a trailer is often easier said than done. Oklahoma-based veterinarian Andy Anderson was in Alberta offering advice on how to take the reins when loading horses. Mike LeBlanc has more on this week's Farm TV.
Helping horse owners resolve issues of trailer loading was the topic of the day for veterinarian Andy Anderson at the 30th Annual Alberta Horse Industry Conference.
I don't think horses are inherently non-trailer loaders. I think we inadvertently teach them not to load in a trailer, teach them to fear the whole experience. Basically, they're punishing the horse's efforts to load. The horse goes up and he really is trying to get in the trailer, but they don't perceive it as such, so they punish that. And in his mind, he was trying really hard and he got punished for it. The other thing they do is they reward his attempts not to load. Well, for example, a quick one is, the horse that walks up to the back of the trailer, and as he walks up, he turns sideways and says, I don't want to get in. And the people lead him away from the trailer, lead him in a little circle and straighten him up. You just taught him when he doesn't want to get in the trailer, all he has to do is turn sideways and you'll lead him away from it. And my philosophy is, he walked up to that trailer, he turned himself and got sideways, he can just as easily turn himself and straighten up.
Punishment is not a good teaching method, says Anderson, and should only be used when the horse is being aggressive. The best way to teach a horse good behavior is to understand the way they think.
Horses don't sit around in groups and think, wonder what we can do to screw up tomorrow. If we can start our youngsters out with no fear of the trailer, get in the trailer, ride in the trailer, it's no big deal. That's a lot better than having to come along after the fact.
Farm TV is brought to you by DA Building Systems.
And on the markets today, the TSX tumbled amid global growth worries. Here's a look at the closing numbers.